Welcome to Laptop Empires, the show that teaches you how to build and grow a business from anywhere in the world. I am Brian Downard, and this is episode number 8. Today we're going to be talking about how you can get more traffic and registrants for your webinar. Now, webinars aren't necessarily a new strategy, but they're new for my business in that I've been recently committing to doing one every single week. Now, starting this coming Thursday, March 16th, 2017, will be the first one of my weekly webinars, and you're welcome to sign up for that. I got a link in the description below this video. But what I want to talk about is some of the strategies that I'm using to increase signups, because I think that webinars are one of the best ways, if not the best way, to attract people to grow an email list, and then of course, pitch and sell your products and services. So, tip number 1, email. Really, really simple. If you have any kind of email list, you need to tell them about your webinar. So I like to send at least 2 emails to my personal list, sometimes 3, letting them know about the webinar. Now you also want to schedule webinar reminder emails. If you've got webinar software, I personally use Webinar Jam, but there's tons of other great options out there that will send reminder emails. Now, people are really, really busy, but you can use these email reminders to get in top of their inbox, stay top of mind, and make sure that they actually show up to your webinar. Because just because you have 100 people sign up doesn't mean 100 people are actually going to show up. So these emails you can send as reminders. Now again, there's 2 separate sets. We're sending emails just about the webinar to your personal list, and then we're sending the reminder emails to the people who signed up. Now, what I usually do is send a reminder email. Well, I send a confirmation email when they sign up right away. Then they'll usually get an email a few days before the webinar with a couple of more pieces of content and information about the webinar to get them excited. Then I send a reminder email 24 hours before, usually the morning of, and then a 15-minute reminder. Now, some people are more aggressive than that. Some people are less aggressive. It's really up to you how you would like to remind your audience. But 2 different sets. One set to get them there, and one set to remind them to show up. Now, the second tip is one-on-one outreach. Now, it's funny that we often overlook this, but there's so many people you talk with and have talked with that would be interested in showing up for your webinar. So reach out to them, whether that's through email or LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. Go personally, one-on-one, invite people to join your webinar. Send them a link, tell them why you think that it would be interesting that they show up. Obviously relate that to a conversation you've had with them in the past, and it's a really easy and a high converting way to get more people to show up at your webinars. Now here's another good one. You want to include a site-wide call to action on your website. Now what that means is it's a universal call to action, some kind of banner or pop-up or slide-in that is going to tell people who are visiting your website about your upcoming webinar. Now I personally use Opt-in Monster and Sumo, formerly known as AppSumo, on my WordPress website. And what this does is it lets me add really visually appealing calls to action on every page of my website that I want it to, that takes people who are looking at content on my website to the webinar registration page. Now, I have more traffic than some people might, but regardless, these people who are already on your website, don't just let them leave empty-handed. It's a great way to get them on to the webinar. Now, what I like to do also is A/B test this. Do 2 different variations. Sumo, again, formerly known as AppSumo, lets you A/B test calls to action for free, so I would highly recommend that tool. That way you can see what's getting more clicks and getting more people to your webinar page. All right, so tip number 4, I know you're going to really love this one. Now it's called strategic promotion. Now Zach over at Heart, Soul, and Hustle, I originally owe this idea to, but the basic concept is this. You strategically place your calls to action to the webinar sign-up page into relevant blog posts. So if you had a webinar on health and fitness, maybe there is a blog post that you have on your website about a couple of health and fitness tips. Now what you do in that blog post, add your call to action so people reading that sign up, just like we kind of talked about in tip number 3. But here is the kicker. Now you go ask influencers to share that with their audiences. It's a very small ask, and it's just like content outreach. You find people interested in sharing your content, you reach out to them, and you have them share that. But now in this case, people who go then read that blog post and that spike in website traffic you'll receive from all of the shares will eventually get to your call to action and onto your webinar registration page. So I highly recommend you do that. Another smart way to do this is get your content, your blog posts with the calls to action onto community websites. So in the marketing niche, it would be things like Growth Hackers or inbound.org, and you go promote it there, and then you have people go reach out to them, ask them to upvote it for you, and as that increases rankings and gets you more views on those sites, you're going to get more people into the blog posts that have the call to actions to get webinar signups. All right, tip number 5 is live videos. Now, I've been doing live videos probably not as consistently as I would like to on Facebook, but now that I have these weekly webinars, I think it's a good reason to get on every single night and not only share a small tip or piece of advice from the upcoming webinar, at the very end, invite people watching the video and people watching the replay to then go sign up for your webinar, which you can include a link in the post. Now, Instagram has live videos and Periscope does live, but I would highly recommend Facebook unless you already have an audience or a presence on one of those other networks. So Facebook allows you to do the video and then upload the recording and then really easily boost that with a little bit of a budget to your paid fans or to your fans of your page and other people as well. So that kind of leads us into tip number 6, and I admittedly am not very good at this specific kind of Facebook advertising, but a lot of people putting on webinars do Facebook advertising to get signups. Now it's funny because on the consulting side of my business, I do Facebook advertising for brick and mortar retailers, and I've really been able to figure out how to make that work for them. Now, in the consulting and digital product space, the other part of my business where I'm trying to learn how to start to do that and dip my feet in there, it's a little bit more difficult to get people off of Facebook to sign up for a webinar. Now, especially in the marketing space, because there's already so many people doing it really well. That being said, Facebook advertising is still one of the best ways to drive signups. Now, I've been able to do it, been able to get dozens of signups off of Facebook, but of course, it's all about reducing the amount you spend to get those signups. So what I like to do is I run ads to warm traffic. That means people who like my page, who have visited my website, who have watched a live video of mine, people who are already interested in me and know what I'm up to. So I like to promote on Facebook ads to those people specifically, so I don't have to spend a ton of money to try and get cold traffic onto my webinar. Now, tread lightly here because you can spend a lot of money very quickly, and I'm sure we'll talk more about Facebook advertising in other videos. Just know it's a highly effective way to get more signups if you know what you're doing. But I want to leave you with the #1 way to get traffic and signups to your webinar, better than Facebook advertising, and it's totally free. It's JV partners, or joint venture partnerships. Now, when people hear the word partnerships, they get worried that it's going to be some long-term commitment. But in this sense, you're just going to find someone who already has the audience you want and to team up with them to host a webinar for that audience. Now, typically, you split the sales 50-50, but in exchange for that, you're going to get access to their email list in that they'll promote the webinar to that email list through their social channels, and they're going to potentially get hundreds, maybe even thousands of people to sign up who then will be on your email list and on the webinar who you can pitch your products and services to. Now, again, webinars are not a new strategy, but it's something that I've been recently doing and committing to weekly to do them. So if you want to join my weekly webinar, I'm going to be putting on one every single Thursday. There will be a link below this video. And these are the strategies that I'm going to be personally using to get people onto my webinars. Now, for those of you who might be a little worried and concerned that it's strange to only have a couple people on maybe your first webinars. I know it can feel like you're talking to just an empty room, but don't get that feeling. It wouldn't be strange if you were doing one-on-one consulting. So even if it's just one person that you start off with, that you're going to be educating and adding value, it's all about depth, not going wide. So if you can sell to just a small group of people, work your way up, and then prove your webinar actually works and converts, then you can start to reinvest some of that money into Facebook advertising and go present your webinar and pitch to potential JV partners who'd be willing to share that with their audience as well. So I hope some of these free strategies and paid strategies will work for you in getting more webinar signups. Otherwise, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if this has been helpful, and leave a comment below right now letting me know what you think and if you've got any other strategies you're using to get people to your webinars. All right, again, I am Brian Downard. This has been Laptop Empires, episode number 8. Thank you for tuning in.